began a hopeless cycle of violence. Millions left destitute by an earthquake, a brutal conflict where the choice is either to flee or be killed. Children left with little hope for a future, too long exposed to a climate of violence and fear. Yet, every day, extraordinary things can happen when ordinary people like you and me decide to take action. It is this shared humanity that binds us together. In an age that is more digitally connected than ever, we have an opportunity to act together as global citizens, to stand up for a more humane world, to demand a better world. This World Humanitarian Day, use your social media to inspire the world's humanity. Sign up to the Share Humanity campaign and help give a voice to the voiceless. Together, we can make a difference and inspire change.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2015 celebration of World Humanitarian Day. I'm Amy Robach, anchor of ABC's Good Morning America, and it is a privilege to be here with all of you tonight at the United Nations headquarters to remember the work and the honor, the sacrifices of humanitarians around the world working to save lives and restore dignity to millions of people, and to renew our shared commitment to life-saving humanitarian action. Tonight, on the eve of World Humanitarian Day, we recognize that each one of us can make a difference in the lives of others, and each one of us has the power to inspire our fellow humanity to take action to create a more humane world. On social media over the past few days, you've probably seen the hashtag Share Humanity trending. And if you haven't, it's time to get on your device and to hashtag Share Humanity. This year's World Humanitarian Day campaign shares the stories of people affected by humanitarian emergencies. We hope that by sharing these stories of dignity and strength, we can create a global display of public support for humanitarian action and a call for a more humane world. Now, please join me in warmly welcoming the recently appointed United Nations Under-Secretary General and Emergency Relief Coordinator, Mr. Stephen O'Brien.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being part of our celebration tonight. I am very pleased to be with you to mark my first World Humanitarian Day as Emergency Relief Coordinator, representing humanitarian organizations from all over the world, both within and outside the United Nations. Shortly, I will ask the Secretary General to share his thoughts with us. Tonight, from the United Nations headquarters, on the eve of World Humanitarian Day, we kick off events which will be taking place in countries all over the world tomorrow. Humanitarian colleagues in South Sudan and Syria, Chad and Yemen, Colombia and Mali, Nepal and in the Philippines, in Geneva and at the World Expo in Milan, and many other places will gather with local communities to mark the day around this year's theme, Share Humanity. Tonight, I am very pleased that we will see and hear the moving story of Hanan, a mother of 5 and one of 1.7 million Syrian refugees living in Lebanon, from Lila Buck, a Lebanese-American writer and performer. Let us remember what brings us together, our shared commitment to the tens of millions of women, men, and children who rely on life-saving assistance to survive. We celebrate the spirit that inspires humanitarian work around the world and pay tribute to the bravery and commitment of humanitarian workers. I thank each and every humanitarian worker and their families for their inspiring work. Tonight is also a celebration of the values and principles that drive our actions, the humanitarian instinct to support people in need. Our message this World Humanitarian Day is simple, but we believe it can lead to great change in the world. Share humanity. Be generous in spirit and deed. Take action to help those in greatest need. Help to create a more humane world. In our volatile world, there is an urgent need to realize a greater sense of responsibility to each other and develop a greater sense of global citizenship. Share humanity. It's a simple message that we don't hear often enough. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful selection of performers from across the globe tonight to celebrate and create momentum for this campaign. I would like to thank everyone who has contributed, and in particular the United Arab Emirates for jointly hosting this event. I would also like to acknowledge with us here tonight Oliver Perkovic from Kabul, Afghanistan. Oliver is the founder of Skatistan, the extraordinary youth skateboarding and education organization helping make life better for many hundreds of Afghan young people since 2007, and now also in Cambodia and South Africa. Skatistan is a major partner in our global Share Humanity campaign. Now, before we start, I would like to welcome to the stage the United Nations Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon. Thank you and good night.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the United Nations. And I'm very pleased to be here with you today. Each year, on World Humanitarian Day, we honor the selfless dedication and sacrifice of those who devote themselves, often at great personal risk, to assisting the world's most vulnerable people. The General Assembly designated World Humanitarian Day to mark the anniversary of the bomb attack in Baghdad that took the lives of 22 people, including our colleague, the great humanitarian, Sergio Vieira de Mello. Today, we remember Sergio and all the humanitarian aid workers who have given their lives helping others. These workers and volunteers from around the world remind us of our common humanity and our duty to support those who need us most. Today, more than 100 million women and men, children, and adolescents require life-saving humanitarian assistance. Each has a unique and heart-rending story. Each hopes for a better future. Some are victims of natural disasters. Others are fleeing violence and persecution. Not since the Second World War have we so many people been displaced by conflict. The families and communities are struggling to survive in today's emergencies, do so with resilience and dignity. They need and deserve our solidarity. Each one of us can make a difference. Each of us has the power and the responsibility to help create a more humane world. On this World Humanitarian Day, I urge everyone to show solidarity as global citizens by signing up to the Share Humanity campaign. Help us to share moving stories of hope and resilience from around the world. Help us to inspire new heights of humanitarian awareness and action. I would like to thank our wonderful performers this evening. Ina Moja from Mali, Juanes from Colombia, Cody Simpson from Australia. Thank you for dedicating your great talents to this great cause. I would also like to thank and highly commend the leadership of Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Mr. Stephen O'Brien, and all our humanitarian partners who are organizing events around the world to commemorate World Humanitarian Day. As you may know, Mr. O'Brien has just arrived just 2 hours ago after having visited Yemen and Syria and many other places where the humanitarian situations are very dire. And I again highly commend his leadership. Let's applaud his leadership again. As we celebrate tonight, I also ask you to look ahead to the first ever World Humanitarian Summit next May in Istanbul, Turkey. The summit will focus world attention on how we can better reduce risk, build resilience, and meet the needs of millions of people affected by conflict, disaster, and crisis. I expect heads of state and government and leaders from civil society and private sector, crisis-affected communities, and multilateral organizations to announce bold new ideas to help set the course of humanitarian action for years and decades to come. The summit will also reinforce the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and our global commitment to end poverty and leave no one behind. I count on the support of all sectors of society to make the World Humanitarian Summit a great success. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I know you are all as pained as I am by the suffering in so many places across the world. We see systemic brutality against women and girls, indiscriminate bomb attacks on civilians, migrants facing exploitation and mortal danger as they undertake desperate journeys in search of a better life. And all the while, repressive governance continues in too many places. Indifference among those with the power to make a difference leaves too many people without hope. World Humanitarian Day is a day on which we express our determination not just to empathize, but to engage. In this year in which we mark the 70th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations, let us reaffirm our commitment to unite our strength to fulfill our shared humanitarian imperative. Let us work to make this better for all. I thank you for your commitment and engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Mr. Secretary General for his remarks. And our next speaker is a senior international correspondent in CNN's London Bureau. She has been reporting extensively on Africa for CNN, and she has been at the forefront of nearly every major news story from the continent over the past 3 years. At immense personal risk, Nema Elbagir reported on the Ebola outbreak, which ravaged West Africa, going inside Liberia's quarantine zones and then exploring the devastation the disease wrought on urban and rural communities. She was also the first international journalist to report from Chibok, the northern Nigerian village where over 250 schoolgirls were kidnapped by the terrorist group Boko Haram. She covered the spiraling violence which engulfed the Central African Republic, traveling with the French troops as they worked to broker peace between entrenched Muslim and Christian fighters, and she reported from Somalia at the height of the Horn of Africa famine. But her career started in Sudan, her home, where as a stringer she provided reports on Darfur. Please join me in welcoming senior international correspondent from CNN, Ms. Nema Elbagir.